Random thoughts. In this video, I'm going to read parts of the book Bantu Beliefs and Magic by one C.W. Hobley, where he tries to prove the link between the Akamba of East Africa, Kenya that is, and the ancient Assyrian belief systems. And he points out so many similarities between the belief systems of the Akamba and the ancient Assyrians. And at the same time, he tries to say, like he's trying also to say, there is no way. Now, this is a book that was published in 1922. Now, C.W. Hobley served as an administrator, colonial administrator in Kenya between 1890s and I think 1920s when he retired. Could be earlier than that. Now, during his works, he did interact with different groups of Kenyan communities, and we've already gone through one document that he wrote, and that was a book about the people of Eastern Uganda, which is the part of Kenya from the current Uganda-Kenyan border up to Naivasha. That part used to be called Eastern Uganda. Now, in this book, the Bantu Beliefs and Magic, he talks about two groups or two communities. He talks about the Akamba and the Kikuyu, and he tries to provide us with information that he had collected about the belief systems of these two nations. So there is a part where he talks about the possibility of the Akamba people believing in the genie. If you know the genie is a spirit. It's mostly believed. This spirit that is mostly believed in the Arab world. And so he says that among the Akamba, or among the African tribes, as he calls them, the belief in the genie is not that big, but there are signs that at some point in the past, most likely the people used to believe in the genie. I think he was wrong here. I think most African or Kenyan communities, not all of them though, but a significant number of them, do believe in the genie. Maybe some of them, this is a belief that they have acquired from the coast, but I think that they did believe in some form of it. And we need to separate this from the so-called Ngoma in Kikuyu land, or Imu in Kampaland. The genie, the way at least Hobley is describing it here, is a separate, different type of spirit. And this is what he says. Among our African tribes, this cult, however, has fortunately not developed to any great extent. It may, of course, have been forgotten, or it may have disappeared, but there are still a few traces of it left. Akamba story, for instance, tells of two girls who took shelter in a cave during storm. A centipede came while they were there, and the girls threw it out. But the centipede was an evil spirit and revenged itself by closing up the entrance of the cave so that the girls were starved to death. This story might have come straight from the Central Arabia and be that of Genie, the Sedim of the Talmud, who was supposed to assume any form they wished. So he said this story it was told by the Akamba people, and he says the story is so similar to a story that you'll find that had come from Central Arabia, and probably we can say it's a similar, or this spirit is similar to Genie from that part of the world, or the Sedim of the Talmud. Now the Talmud is a text, of course, of the Jewish. The deity or the ancestral spirit is appeased by means of sacrifice or libations carried out either privately or communally according to circumstance. And he continued to say, a considerable amount of detailed information concerning this has been collected, which may be interesting to compare with the similar practices described in the Old Testament and other ancient literature. So he said there is a significant amount of information that he had collected, either him or others had collected, and he was looking forward, kind of like, that's what he says, to comparing that information with what is found in the Old Testament and other ancient literature. And then there's another part, again, he tries to show us the link between the ancient Assyrian belief system and the Akamba belief system. And this is what he writes. A quotation from an Assyrian tablet some 3,000 years old, which R.C. Thompson refers to in his Semitic Magic, shows how slowly man changes. He quotes, "The gods which seize upon man have come forth from the grave. The evil wind gusts have come forth from the grave to demand the payment of rites and pouring of libations. They have come forth from the grave, have come like whirlwind." So this is apparently this text from a tablet from ancient Assyria, and this is what he says about that text. He says, the author goes to say, now if the attentions of its friends on earth should cease, and the soul should find nothing to eat and drink, then it was driven by force of anger to come back to earth to demand its due. This psalm-like utterance might equally well have been made by a Kikuyu or a Akamba of the present day. So he says this text, even though it comes from tablets of ancient Assyria, those words, we can easily say they have been said by a Kikuyu or a Akamba, because those practices, and he's talking here about the idea that when somebody passes on, their spirit leaves the body, and the spirit hangs around, and it has to be taken care of by its descendants. And he says that that is the reason why this, especially the Kikuyu and the Kamba, it was so important for somebody to have children, because it was believed when you pass on to the next world, your children will take care of you through libations and sacrifices. And if there was no one to do that for you, then you will remain hanging, or your spirit will remain hanging and wandering without anyone to take care of it. And in fact, this is what he says about that. He says, the intense desire of Africans for offspring is probably due to the fact that children are expected to sacrifice to the spirit of their dead parents, and the ghost of one who has left no posterity is therefore in piteous plight. And this situation, or this concept, he sees it as existing exactly in the ancient Assyrians, at least going by the tablets that he read, or the texts that he read that are thought to have been written by the ancient Assyrians. And he continues to tell us about the belief among the Akamba of this Imu, the spirit of a person, and how it will come back, and how it could even communicate with the living. And in another video, I'm going to discuss or to talk about, to read a part where he says that he kind of like makes the argument that according to his investigations, the Africans were able to communicate with their departed ancestors. Ironically, he attributes that to the fact that Africans are not highly developed. And because of that, then they have this ability to communicate with the spirits. And then you are left wondering, if you can communicate with spirits, does it mean you are on a low level or a higher level? Okay, we will talk about that in another video. But here is what he says. The Kitui people say that sometimes when a snake crawling outside a hut is attacked, it will suddenly vanish. And they then know that it was the Imu of a deceased person, which had either assumed the form of a snake or entered into the body of a snake. A few days afterwards, a woman will become possessed and fall into a state of semi-trance, and the Imu will speak through her mouth and say, I came into the village the other day, and so wanted to strike me. Whereupon the people think it's just as well to sacrifice a goat to soothe the feelings of the injured spirit. The Akamba people, unlike the Kikuyu, do not believe that the spirit enter into kimbu or caterpillars. So the Kikuyu believe that the spirits will enter kimbu or the caterpillars, but the Akamba did not. And the Akamba seems like they believed the spirit will enter animals like snakes. Now, here is another link or parallel. Here is another link he draws for us between the belief among the Akamba and the ancient Assyrians. And this is what he says. When a hyena comes and howls near a village, it is looked upon as an evil omen and as a token of death, and the beast is generally driven away and killed if possible. They very probably believe that an evil demon has assumed the shape of a hyena. In the Assyrian tablets, mention is made of a spirit called Alu, which slinks through the streets at night like a pariah dog and harms people. So he says a similar concept among the ancient Assyrians. They write about this spirit called Alu that will be in animals, and it will be walking in the streets, and it was believed that it was going to, or it would harm people. So those are some parts of the book Bantu Beliefs and Magic, where C.W. Hobley tries to show us a link between the belief system of the Akamba people and to some extent Akikuyu and the belief system of the ancient Assyrians as they are described in the tablets that can be found today. Those are my random thoughts.